Hello and welcome to FPL Happy Hour, Last Orders, episode 15 of season 3, and we're live with myself, Sham, otherwise known as FPL 2 Guys 1 Cup on Twitter. Rob, how are you, mate? Yeah. So I messaged Rob on Tuesday when we're ready to. I was like, "Do you want to do today?" Or I'm sensing that you probably don't because I haven't heard from you. And he was like, "I was like, do you want to just do it on Thursday?" And he was like, "Yep." I was like, so yeah, we are basically combining our pre-record into this episode today. So right, on tonight's episode, we're going to be covering our game week 5 review, just of how our teams did, a couple of players that we liked from game week 5, and then we're going to be doing an in-depth kind of topic on Chelsea. So that was a community poll that we put out earlier on in the week. We'll then do our usual free hit teams every week. So for those that are new, myself and Rob do a free hit team every week of players that we like, which gives us a discussion point for that week of players that we think people should be looking to bring in. In the competition, I believe it's 3-2 at the moment. To me, is that right, Rob? They can't hear you. They can hear me. Okay. Anyway, right, while you sort that out, I'll carry on talking. So we'll go through our teams. Yeah, there's no point in me talking actually because I'm talking to you.
Yeah, we've got to start.
Well, again. Can they hear me? They can hear me.
Can everyone hear me now?
Are we starting again?
And we'll have to start the intro again because we're live. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me now? I think that everyone can hear me now because I can see that I'm producing sound.
Let's just make sure that they definitely can.
Someone just write in the chat that they can hear me, or
can't hear you.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
perfect.
All good.
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay.
Should we just start from the beginning?
Well, they've heard me doing the intro of welcome
let's do
to
a quick.
FPL
Let's do a quick intro.
So,
let's do a quick intro for the pod listeners.
Are we doing it again? Hello and welcome to FPL Happy Hour, episode 15 of season 3, and we're live with myself, Sham, otherwise known as FPL 2 Guys 1 Cup on Twitter.
So for those that are watching live, you've just seen what happens almost every week when we do a pre-record. And for those that are listening, hopefully that's gone as seamlessly as possible for you.
And you haven't said what your name is. And no one knows because
no one knows who my name is.
My
name's Rob, or otherwise known as FPL Panda.
Right. So what we were saying before was we normally pod on a Monday and a Thursday, or a Monday and Monday or Tuesday. But yeah, Rob was basically drunk on Tuesday and had a hangover.
No, I was drunk. I was drunk on Monday. You're
drunk on Monday.
I might have still been a bit drunk on Tuesday, to be fair.
So we're basically combining our pre-record into this episode today. So we are going to be going through game week 5, our teams, Chelsea in detail, which was a community topic chosen, free hit team, our teams for this week, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end. So if you've got any questions, save them to the end, or feel free to write comments throughout and we'll read them out. But if you've got any specific questions, we'll cover it at the end. If it's questions on Chelsea, for example, maybe pop them in while we're talking about Chelsea and we can get them answered as well. Yeah, cool. Rob, should we bring up game week 5 then?
Yep. How did you do? Let's have a look. It's complete with flags from today as well. There you go.
Is that got my points? How did I do? I got 70 points, I believe. To be fair, I can't complain because I said to you that I was expecting a red arrow, and I got a 5k green arrow up to 20k in the world. I can't really complain with that. However, I did take a -4, and the -4 didn't pay off. So I've got Bamford and Rafinha in, who did perform, got an assist and a goal out of them both. But then I took out Tony, who scored 12 points, and Greenwood obviously didn't score at all. So that was scored 3 points or 2 points. So I was happy with taking out Greenwood. But yeah, I was essentially 5 points worse off with that. And if you combine that with the Ronaldo move that I didn't do a couple of weeks ago, I would have been 20 points better off so far by making these moves, which
on
put
that
me
note,
kind of in the top 1k.
What did you say this time last week about Ronaldo?
That he would not smash it against West Ham.
No, you said that he would not score. I think were the
He would not
exact
score.
words.
Yeah,
He
I
would
said that
not
he wouldn't
score. And he
Uh,
did. It was a tap in, but
Well, do you know
score.
what actually I want to do as well? Before we move on to Chelsea, after we've done our game week 5 kind of review, maybe just talk about the 2 games, the West Ham and United games, just briefly.
I didn't watch much of it. I listened to a lot of it on the radio because I was driving.
Okay, well, obviously I was at the game, so I can give my perspective of the game on Sunday.
I actually watched the last 10 minutes. By the time sort of got into the hotel room and got my laptop out and got tuned into it. But yeah, I missed most of the game. But apparently it was in the most part, it was a really good game for both sides, and I think nobody would have complained if Mark Noble did actually put the penalty away. Because it would have been a fair result, but United also played a bit better.
Let's go through your side, and then we'll pick out some players that we like from last week, and then we can talk about that game.
Cool. So I got a massive 61 points. Yeah, it was just one of those weeks, really. Everton on the whole were poor, so no return for Damari Gray for the first time this season. Obviously, everyone got caught out with the Liverpool rotation. I was one of the lucky ones to still have Tsimikas sitting there on my bench. And I think I did say that I was tempted to start with Tsimikas instead of Robertson because I thought that he might
Well, I
play.
told you to start him. I mean, it didn't make a difference in the end, but I told you to start him, but you were worried he might come on the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, that was the problem, whether Klopp started Robertson and then brought on Tsimikas in the second half, it would have made it pretty pointless. Brighton, the no clean sheet, that was the big gamble. Gambling with Veltman and Sanchez. Made the right choice of benching Soufal though as well. The Gilmore punt didn't really pay off. Picked the right captain, as did everyone else. Return for Bamford, return for Ben Rama, which was nice as well. It was kind of because I wasn't really invested into the week because I was so busy doing other things. Felt like a good week to miss. From a fantasy point of view. So 61 points. I dropped 4k. I was pretty much bang on average, really. So
what's your rank now?
415.
And how many points?
Total points. Less than you.
Yeah, I know it's less than me.
I was
just wondering what the difference is.
I think it's about 50 points, probably.
Okay. Yeah, that's easily catchable.
Yeah, of course it's catchable. It's you. But I think I'm in quite a good place moving forward this week. So, yeah.
So, was there anyone from game week 5, not necessarily on your side, but just from any of the matches that has made you think for game week 6 and beyond that that you really like, or some kind of double takes and players?
The one player that really stands out for me this week, and it's not really as a sort of a beyond game week 6, and that's Ibrahim Sarr. He was brilliant last week against Norwich. He's up against Newcastle, who have been shaky at the back, although they played really well and sort of after going 1-0 down against Leeds last week, they actually were quite solid at the back. It's probably one of their better defensive performances in the last couple of seasons. And so I'd take my chances with him this week. Obviously, Ben Rama, Soufal, Antonio up against this Leeds defence that after Bielsa's press conference today, I really fancy some returns from West Ham players, and sort of they had that bounce back obviously last night in the cup, although it was very much Mark Noble said it was a glorified B team against B team. I think that the A team is going to want to sort of bounce back after the what was considering a disappointing result last Sunday. So yeah, I really fancy West Ham this week.
Just what one thing that I was thinking about, and a player that has made me kind of think that. So us, I would say us FPL players that take it seriously, like we do. We have many advantages to our bow. We look at the data, we look at the detail. We kind of sometimes we look too much into the detail, and therefore we miss the obvious picks. And those obvious picks end up performing week in, week out, and we miss them. And that reminded me of Marcos Alonso. A lot of players will be casual players will look at, oh, Alonso's playing, he's getting points, I'll bring him in. And a lot of people have brought him in. His ownership is like high. I was like surprised at how high his ownership was. I think it was let's have a look now.
Getting up there. Oh, it's not quite in the top 5 defenders.
20%, 18%. 18%. I was surprised at that. And he keeps on performing week in, week out. And us, I guess serious FPL players are going, he's going to be moved out to Chilwell soon. Chilwell's coming back. So he's someone that I'm really kind of thinking about, but I'm worried that as soon as I get him, Chilwell's going to start.
I think
he should have scored like twice. He's the type of defender, like if there's, I think out of any any defender in the Prem, if I was to say to you who is most likely to get a brace this week, it's got to be Alonso, right? Not I don't mean this particular game week. I mean in general.
I mean with Chilwell, does Thomas Tuchel trust Ben Chilwell?
I don't know.
I'm not sure he does, and I think this is very much what I've seen people touch on it, but I'm not sure that Thomas Tuchel trusts Ben Chilwell in the same way that I don't think Gareth Southgate trusts Ben Chilwell. But I mean, Ben Chilwell at the Euros was one of the only people in the England squad not to get a single minute, which just speaks volumes that Southgate would rather he played Trippier on 2 occasions at left back. So I'm not sure about Ben. I think for now, I think Alonso's pretty much nailed, which is more than we could have said for the last season and a half, especially in the time under Lampard.
We're going to talk about Chelsea soon, so let's go through the details shortly. But just quickly, I just want to talk about the West Ham and Man United games, because I was at the Man United game, and it was disappointing. I think we deserved a draw out of that. From an FPL perspective, obviously Ben Rama ended up getting 10 points, but I don't know how he ended up getting 10 points from that deflected shot. I don't think his performance kind of warranted 10 points. I'm not saying that he played badly, but that was probably his only kind of opportunity, I would have said, to score. I didn't see him like doing much within the game, to be honest with you. Like, we broke a lot and we had lots of passage of play, and when we were breaking, he was part of it, but there wasn't any opportunities that I saw him take and thought, oh, you should have scored then, or oh, you nearly scored then, or anything like that. FPL wise, Sufal is crossing and crossing and crossing at the moment, but it's not going anywhere. I wasn't really impressed with him from an eye test point of view. I was a bit disappointed. Overall, as a team, I thought we played really, really well. I was, impressed. But if I'm looking from the FPL perspective, I think it's a don't buy, don't sell unless it's Antonio, personally.
Do we think that with West Ham, the fact that you've got the likes of Benrahma, Fornals, Bowen, Vlasic, Vidra played last night.
Vidra?
Is the fact that there's lots of other players getting in, like moving into those forward spaces. It isn't allowing Souček to make those runs into the box we saw last season, where he became the target for the crosses.
Yeah, Souček's been poor this season.
I just think that Souček's job is different this season than it was last season, where the players struggled for, like, especially Bowen, Fornals, and all three of Bowen, Fornals, Benrahma, at times struggled for fitness and then struggled for form, and it meant that like Souček was used a lot more further up the pitch. Do you think that's what's reducing the returns for Sufal as well?
Possibly, although his crossing ability at the moment just seems poor. I think that's what it is. I was really disappointed with his crossing.
I mean, he's not like aiming for the tallest strikers in the world or midfielders, is he? Really?
Yeah, no, I get that. Like, I get that. It's more in terms of as soon as you get the ball,
getting a towering header over Harry Maguire.
Yeah, you're right though about Souček. He's not been getting in the box as much because we've got the more attacking players. But Bowen was a workhorse. Fornals is a workhorse. Like, I was really impressed with their movement. But again, not FPL assets personally. I personally think it's a don't buy, don't sell unless it's Antonio, in which case buy Antonio if you don't have him. I think he'll really do like problems to that Leeds defense this weekend. And then obviously we won last night. There's no point me talking about last night's game because from an FPL point of view, obviously, we made 10 changes, but it was good to get that result. And, at the moment, a lot of people had sold Benrahma, and I said to you, you even said to me, why don't you sell Benrahma if you want to get Bamford in and downgrade Benrahma? And I was like, no, not with this side at the moment. The way that we're playing, we can score at any time. We are playing well. I just don't know where outside of Antonio, I don't know where that attacking return is going to come from. So that's the reason why I'm saying don't buy, don't sell, because I just don't know where it's going to come from. Anyway, right. Let's move on to Chelsea. And Chelsea have got an amazing run of fixtures coming up soon. I think it's 5 fixtures, which from game week 7 that we're all looking to target. Southampton at home, Brentford away, Norwich at home, Newcastle away, Burnley at home, and then Leicester away in 12. And it's a case of who do we get and what position. Now, I think that is the problem, right? Like, we all want to buy Chelsea players, but we don't know who to get. I think everyone is kind of set on Lukaku at some point, whether it's 7, 8, or 9. People want Lukaku, and I think we can discuss him tonight in terms of his stats and stuff. But I think it's more the defense. And is there any options in midfield that we can look at? For me personally, I'm looking at 2 defenders and an attacker, because from that midfield, it's difficult to kind of work out who to get. And that's why we've got for those that are watching live now, you'll see we've got some stats on the screen that will kind of show you who the kind of best players are from a statistical point of view to get. What are your thoughts before we go into the stats on this, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, for that run of games, I expect to have double Chelsea defence, and then Lukaku as well. I think it makes sense, especially when the defence are reasonably priced. Like you can easily come off Luke Shaw for one of them. You can come off Soufal for one of them, or you could even, if you wanted to downgrade TAA, you can, and you're going to probably get more clean sheets than you will out of TAA. Can't say much about attacking returns, but the clean sheets are there. I think this Chelsea defence seem a lot firmer than they have in recent times. And I mean, it's strange considering they've got Azpilicueta in there and Alonso in there, who've been in there for years. It's just the combination also with Rudiger and the midfield that this sitting two in front of them of Kovacic and Jorginho that's really working well. And they just seem very hard to break down at times. It'd be interesting this weekend to see if City can pick out some weaknesses in that defence.
Do you want to go through some stats then? Should we look at defenders first?
Yep. So yeah, we've got the defenders up on the screen. So we picked out Reece James, Cesar. It's going to be some good pronunciations here. Cesar Azpilicueta, Antonio Rudiger, and Marcos Alonso. So 3 out of the 4 of them have played 5, but obviously we expect if Reece James didn't get that red card, he'd probably most likely be on 5 matches played as well. So yeah, we don't. The fact he's only played 3 kind of doesn't mean much. Alonso's the highest scoring FPL wise. 3 out of the 4 of them have got a goal this season. It's only Azpilicueta that hasn't. Reece James got 2 assists, whilst Alonso and Azpilicueta have 1 each. Rudiger doesn't have any. This is when it gets interesting from an attacking point of view. Shots. Reece James and Rudiger have each got 4 shots, whilst Alonso has taken 9 so far this season, of which 3 of his shots have been on target, which makes the most shots on target. Rudiger got 2. Reece James only got 1, which was his goal. Shot creating actions. Azpilicueta has 11, which isn't too bad, whilst Alonso has 16. And goal creating actions, Azpilicueta has 5, which is the most out of the 4. So it's actually quite, although Azpilicueta hasn't returned, that kind of says that he is involved. And this is probably more when Reece James was suspended and he was deployed out on the right at fullback. So the non-penalty XG, I'm going to have to look really closer. So Reece James 0.5, 0 for Azpilicueta, 0.3 for Rudiger, 0.7 for Marcos Alonso. So he's almost sort of playing alongside his actual results. Expected XA 1.1 for Reece James, so he's exceeding his XA. 0.4 for Azpilicueta, 0.1 for Rudiger, and 0.8 for Alonso. So
this is basically saying Reece James and Alonso are the players to get, right?
Yeah, I mean both of them are the 2 sort of standout options. If you had to pick one,
which makes sense considering they're on the wings, right? Like
yeah.
it makes sense that the wing backs are.
Yeah, I mean, out of the 2 of them, I'd be picking Reece James purely because he wins most of the sort of stats battles and he's 0.2 less. And I mean, I'd imagine if he didn't have the suspension, he probably would have a lot higher ownership than what is it currently 7.6%. He would be a lot higher, and you'd imagine he probably would have got those couple of price rises to keep him alongside Alonso. So yeah, I'd be backing Reece James all in all, and he passes the eye test for me.
And if you're getting two,
If I was getting two, um, I'd either get Reece James and Alonso, or Reece James and Rudiger.
yeah. So alongside Reece James, one out of Rudiger and Alonso. Who
Yeah,
is it?
and I think
Is what I'm asking you. Who would
I
you
think
get?
0.2 more go Alonso.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it just that makes sense. And if the returns continue to come, you're going to get some value out of him as well with further price rises. He's always been a bit of a FPL favourite, hasn't he, Marcus
Yeah.
Alonso? And he's kind of having a little swan song.
Right, let's have a look at the attackers then. And obviously we've got Lukaku's data on here as well. But I think he's pretty much a given for what people are,
Yeah.
what people want. But we've got three other options here. Do you want to talk through them? So we've got Kovacic, Mount, and
Havertz.
who's the other one? Havertz.
Their Mount and
What's your
Havertz look
thoughts?
quite similar in their
Yeah, I was trying to work it out.
screenshots. So yeah, Lukaku obviously, I think he's almost a dead cert for your team, especially those who've got Ronaldo. It's an easy switch. We'll talk about our plan maybe later on, but yeah, at some point in the next sort of 2 or 3 game weeks, Ronaldo to Lukaku would make sense. Out of the rest of them, I think it's Kovacic that actually draws the best numbers. For some reason, I've got 29 matches played. He hasn't played 29 matches. So he's played the most minutes out of the 4 of them. He's got a goal and 3 assists this season officially, but I think he's got 5 assists, like fantasy assists, in there. 8 shots, 3 on target, giving him a 37.5% shot accuracy. 17 shot creating actions and 5 goal creating actions, with a non-penalty XG of 0.8 and an XA of 0.6. Just before we came on live, we kind of briefly touched on Kovacic, and he's very much looks like he's pretty much nailed in this Chelsea side, playing alongside.
I don't like using the word nailed and Chelsea in the same sentence, mate. Unless you're saying not nailed.
It looks like Tuchel prefers playing Jorginho and Kovacic, with Kovacic on the pivot, than he does playing Kante on the pivot. He doesn't like Jorginho playing in that role, box to box. He likes Jorginho just sitting back. He prefers Kante elsewhere. If he didn't have Jorginho, Kante would be playing where Jorginho is. And I think it just gives Kovacic, when Chelsea have the ball, very much like with Pogba at United at the moment, he kind of gets a free roll, like free roam.
Is he like the Gundogan from last year or not?
I'd say he's a slightly reduced Gundogan. I think he doesn't get that sort of free reign to just burst into the box at every opportunity like Gundogan does, where he's got like a player like Kevin De Bruyne that then picks him out, purely because like with City, for most periods, they don't have a striker. So Gundogan comes in and another midfielder comes back and takes his place. I'm not sure that happens so much with Chelsea, especially when they've got one of the world's best strikers sitting up top. He doesn't need to make those late runs, but he is getting in positions where he can be a creator, sort of in and around the box rather than inside the box. I think at 5.1 million, he's he's really good value, and I think like if you're looking at who else there is at that sort of price, playing for a top side, if you want a really cheap option into the Chelsea side, he could be a nice little punt.
My only argument with that is, would you rather Kovacic at 5.1 or Reece James at 5.6? Because I know that I'd prefer James, or even Rudiger at 5.6 or Alonso at 5.8. Like, I'd rather spend the up to 0.7 or 0.8 or whatever it is and get the defender.
Yeah, I think it all depends on what you're wanting to do with the rest of your budget, especially like if you're on a wild card, if you're wanting to hold Salah, which I think you kind of have to at the moment because he's producing the returns and we know he's fixture proof. If you want Lukaku, if you want TAA, and then you probably want to, even though United have got the tough fixtures, you still might want some United cover in there, even if it's just a Greenwood or a Pogba. Like at least then you've got some attacking cover for United. Yeah, if you're struggling with your budget a little bit, yeah, he might be the answer. But yeah, like you say, it could be a lot easier just to stick it out with the two Chelsea defenders. But I think if you get those two Chelsea defenders, you definitely have to play them every single week. Even if it looks like they're going to slip up, if they suddenly look a bit fragile, then yeah, if you've got them, you've got to keep playing them.
Right. Anything else on Chelsea?
No, I mean I put up. I think at the start of the season, I put up Mount and Havertz because the start of the season we spoke about this fixture run, and we spoke about Havertz briefly pre-season, but he seems to have. He's not like been hitting the headlines as much as, but because of Lukaku there. But I mean, yeah, he should get a bit of a mention. He does. He gets some shots away. He's had 10 shots. He's only hit the target with 2 of them. He's got a non-penalty XG of 0.9. So again, it's not too bad. You probably want a little bit more from 8.2 million. Well,
this is the thing. So my thoughts were, I don't think they give me enough value for their price, and there's quite a lot of good budget midfielders like your Ben Ramas, your Sars, your Greys, your Gallaghers, your players like that are 2 million cheaper,
and you can hop off, hop
on. Even Jota, Torres, you can add to that. Players that they're producing much better stats and output, and I just think there's this good Chelsea fixture on you can exploit in other areas, like the defense, for example, where their players are offering a lot more better value. Like, personally, all 3 of those Chelsea defenders, Rudiger, James, and Alonso, to me right now seem better value than Luke Shaw, for example, during that fixture run of 7 to 11, right? And they're producing better output for in terms of value for money for any 5.5 price. So yeah, I just think I'm aiming towards a single Chelsea defender for game week 7, and then a double for game week 8. That's and Lukaku. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So yeah, we've got a couple of questions just on Chelsea whilst we're talking about Chelsea. Might as well cover it. Mitt asks, lads, what's your thoughts on Chelsea v Man City? Early kickoff and big week for City with PSG away, then LFC away. Should we wait a week for Rom?
I wouldn't be buying a striker to play against Man City.
Yeah, I think the same. Even though personally, I think Chelsea win this 1-0, and if they win 1-0, Lukaku's most likely to score. I just don't think it's worth it at the moment.
No, I think if you've got 11.6 million to 12.5 million burning a hole in your pocket, there's a certain number 7 that's going to be a huge EO this week that you need to be thinking about getting in. There's no chance that I'd recommend bringing in Lukaku this week. Not
agreed.
against that
Next
City
week.
defence.
Unless you're wildcarding and you're going for the 3 premiums, in which case fine. If you're only going for the 2 premiums on a wildcard, then go Ronaldo, Salah, then bring in Lukaku next week, is what I would say.
Yeah, or I just don't. I think if you're wildcarding, there's other players that you could get and then leave the money in the bank.
Yeah,
to bring in Lukaku next week. I just don't. Yeah, I don't.
I can see
this
this being a 0-0 personally. I think Chelsea could be 1-0 or 0-0. I think 0-0 is highly likely as well. Right, okay, and then final question. What about Mendy? Yeah, we didn't speak about Mendy. What's your thoughts on getting Mendy in? Hamish asks that.
I'd prefer not to.
6 million.
Yeah, I'm very much in the state of I like to have 2 rotating keepers that are cheap. I think once you've got Mendy, if you've, I'm guessing it's for your wild card, you're stuck with that keeper till your next wild card, because I don't like wasting transfers on on keepers, or I just don't like at some point after Chelsea's fixture run, you're not going to want Mendy there. I don't like it. It's I don't mind doing having one keeper that's 5.5 if their second string keeper's 4 million. Because then you can get the backup and it's not going to cost you a transfer if they happen to get an injury, or if Tuchel decides he wants to play Kepa for a week, etc. I'd much rather pick the outfield players. You get more value from a cheap goalkeeper than you do an expensive keeper.
Yeah, so I agree with you in the sense that I don't think Mendy is a great pick, but for different reasons. So I disagree with your point where you said it means you're gonna have to stick with him, etc. The reason I disagree is I wouldn't mind sticking with Mendy for the whole season. Chelsea have an elite defense. Yeah, Chelsea, Liverpool, City. I wouldn't mind going Chelsea. I just don't think it offers value because most of the time you're only going to get 6 points out of Mendy. He won't get that many saves. He got more, I think, in the Villa game. He got 9 because obviously he had to make quite a lot of saves. But generally, he only ever gets 6 points. And I think what you're weighing up is that nailness from him versus the nailness of Rudiger, Alonso, James. Personally, Rudiger is, I would say, as nailed as Mendy in that side. Yet James and Alonso, they are rotation risks. But Rudiger is pretty nailed in that side, I think. So I would prefer Rudiger for 0.4 cheaper than Mendy. and because then also you've got the potential for attacking returns as well. Paolo just said Christensen's played 4 out of 5 and not mentioned. It's a roulette. Yeah,
I think Christensen's involvement was largely to do with Reece James being suspended. I think that when Christensen plays, they play with a back 3 or a back 5.
Then again, James was only suspended for 1 game and he's played 4 out of 5, right?
So it's more like that's. I mean, it's the other players that suffer. It's more your midfield that suffers, and they play a 5. That's when they play a 5 back.
Yeah,
I'm not keen on Christensen.
I'm not hot. Although he does offer value for money at 5. At 5, what is he now? 5 million. It's difficult. Again, it's rotation risk, right? I just prefer the other options as well. Right, okay, enough about Chelsea then. Let's go on to our free hit teams for this week. So for those that are new to our live streams, every week me and Rob do a free hit competition where we create our own teams for the week, which gives us kind of talking points of, which teams that we like for this week, for game week 6, which players that we like for this game week, and we'll pick our free hit team with a 100 million budget, and whoever scores the most points wins. In the season so far, I am winning 3-2. I think you won by 4 points last week, didn't you?
Yes, I did. It was down to you captaining Bamford, whilst I captained Salah.
Yeah. I took a gamble.
Right. Well, we've both seen your team because I had to screenshot it. So let's have a look at your team for the week.
Okay, so I've gone for Sarr at Wolves. He's playing Southampton. Decent opportunity for a clean sheet, I think. I've then gone for TAA, Van Dijk, and my eyesight's really bad. Who's that? Who else is that?
Alonso.
Alonso, yeah. So because I really like Alonso's stats at the moment, like I said, I spoke about. So I've gone for the double Liverpool defence.
So you've gone again. You're going to play him against the one team that probably will score against them.
Not necessarily. I don't see City scoring. Like I said, I think it'll be 1-0 or 0-0. I think Chelsea will win 1-0 or 0-0. Sarr, Salah, Ben Rama and Doucouré. I really like Doucouré at the moment. I think out of the budget midfielders, he's one that I do like. He had that spell at Watford, didn't he, a couple of years ago, and he was kind of playing in that attacking role and kind of that free roaming role. And I think Doucouré for Everton in this side has got that sort of role as well. And then up front, we've gone for Antonio, Ronaldo, and Solomon Rondon.
That is a gamble
with Ronaldo.
Right there.
That is a gamble. And Ronaldo as captain. Essentially, I'm banking on Everton scoring some goals in this and Liverpool beating Brentford.
Cool.
What do you think of that side?
It's got Rondon up front. It's a nice team, apart from it's got Rondon, and I'm not sure about the Alonso bit. Those in the chat, let us know what you think about Sham picking Alonso in his free hit team this week. Not to mention Rondon. Right.
You know what? Just quickly on Rondon, because I think it's worth talking about Bamford whilst we're talking about teams for this week, etc. The Bamford injury. Unless you have preset plans of kind of what you're doing for next week, I don't think Rondon is a bad 2-week punt for Bamford. Honestly, I genuinely don't think he's a bad 2-week punt for Bamford. When I say 2-week punt, it's because a lot of people are looking at wildcards in 8.
He is a
Unfortunately,
bad
it
he is a
doesn't
bad
fit
punt
for
if
me.
Richarlison is back next week, or if,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
if he plays badly and Rafa goes, no, this is no good again.
Rondon ain't a shit player, you know. People take
It
the
wasn't
piss. He's not.
he wasn't a great player last week. Let's put it that way. Right. On to my
Well, look,
team.
2018-19, he scored 11 goals, 8
Um,
assists. That's not a bad return.
right, on to my team. Right, my midfield is exactly the same. Sarr,
Oh, is
Salah,
it?
Decore, Benrahma. Exactly the same midfield. I've gone Begovic in goal. Pickford is injured at 4 million. Begovic is great value against Norwich. I've got Michael Keane, Luke Shaw, and Andrew Robertson in defence. And then front three, Antonio Ronaldo is my captain, and Jamie Vardy up against
I like
Burnley.
the Vardy pick. I like the
Um,
Vardy pick. Interesting. Why did you choose? Did you choose Robertson instead of TA because you're worried TA doesn't play?
no, I picked Robertson because over TA because I wanted that front three and I wanted those four midfielders.
Oh, money wise, money.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I wanted that seven um, sort of midfield and forwards, and yeah, it was. I mean, originally I think it was Van Dijk, and then I realised I had the money just to squeeze it up to Robertson. He hasn't provided much attacking threat, but we know it's there, and he is on half the set pieces. Like the left-footed set pieces he takes. So yeah, the returns will come for him. Um, yeah, just couldn't squeeze up to TAA to fit him in. But yeah, I mean, I think Begovic is an interesting one at the moment, although he wasn't great last week. Um, but at 4 million, he's starting against Norwich, so it makes sense to have him in there. Just hope that the Everton defence doesn't have another funny 5 minutes or however long it was last week.
Yep. Okay. Let's go on to our teams then, guys. If you want to start popping your questions in, we're just going to go through our plans for this week, for game week 6, and what we're thinking about doing. If you get your questions in, we'll get them covered as soon as we finished. Right. Okay. So my team, I've got a bit of a problem here, aren't I?
Yeah, I mean, well, this is probably a good one to touch on Hamish's question, where he said he'd be interested to see your take on Leeds' triple injury situation, especially with so many people having just brought them in, and you happen to have the Leeds triple injury situation. So tell us your
Yeah.
plan.
So yeah, I just brought in Bamford and Rafinha last week from -4, and then they're fucking injured, and it cost me as well. So I'm a bit pissed. Well, look, I'm trying to at the moment hold off. So the plan before this injury was to make moves to hold off on a wild card in 8. Now I feel like I kind of have to wild card in 8, but it does depend on what goes on. I don't know how long Bamford's out for. My original plan was to go for next week was to go Dennis to Lukaku and Bruno to a 4.5 midfielder. Now, what that means is that I can't do Bamford to like a 1 week punt in Rondon or someone like that, because then next week I'm still going to have that player that I don't want because I'd planned to have Bamford. So the move that I could do now is Bamford to Ronaldo and Bruno to someone else. That's what I'm thinking about now after this Bamford news, because I don't have Ronaldo. He's going to be like 180% EO. Then I can captain Ronaldo. It's a -4. But then next week, I'm going to be taking a -8, because next week I'm going to be bringing in Lukaku, Oh no, actually, I won't need to because I won't need to do the Bruno move. Yeah, next week will be a -4 as well. To bring in Chelsea defender. So yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. I really don't know what to do because I've got the Rafinha problem. I think it depends how deep it is in terms of your side. Look, if I don't have Bamford playing and Rafinha playing this week, let's say worst case scenario, neither of those two play. I've got Dennis, who I don't mind starting against Newcastle coming in, and Ben White against Tottenham. That's not bad. That's not the end of the world. But if there's other problems in that side, then I'm fucked. What do you think? Do you think I should just take a -4 or just leave it as it is? Because I'm not that bad. If those two, well, we know Bamford's definitely injured, right? So he comes in for Dennis. If Rafinha's injured, White comes in. If Rafinha's not injured, White stays on the bench.
I'd either do the -4 or I'd look at replacing Rafinha.
Yeah, so Sarr.
Yeah.
Sarr is an option. But I need to know what there's more news on Rafinha. If I don't want to take him out if he's going to play.
We're not going to get any more.
Yeah,
Bielsa's not going to do another press conference just for you.
No, I mean, no, no. I know we get inside news sometimes.
Yeah, you get the embargoed press conference news, which will be released sort of in about an hour's time. So yeah, I mean, that tends to be stuff that isn't mentioned, and Rafinha was clearly mentioned in the media excerpts of the press conference as Bielsa just not knowing whether he'll be ready or not.
The other thing is captaincy. So obviously Ronaldo is going to be huge captaincy owned. Do like Salah as a captain, and my mind was, 80% going to be on Salah because I don't have Ronaldo. But now knowing this Leeds situation, and Antonio's had a 1 week rest, I really fancy Antonio against Leeds. And I know that's going to.
He's had what, 10 days? Nice 10-day rest since the Europa League game.
Yeah. And I know that's going to fuck me from a EO point of view in terms of ownership. I mean, I'm going to get fucked anyway, even if I go Salah, right? Even if I go Salah, Ronaldo's going to be massive anyway.
So you may as well just
go get more fucked.
Full on punt.
Full on fucked, yeah. It's not even a punt. Antonio is not a punt.
No, if he bags a brace, like you just need him to match Ronaldo, don't you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Just match Ronaldo's returns. I don't expect Ronaldo to go big, but I do expect at least one goal. I reckon Antonio could outscore him. Yeah,
that could be a big call.
I don't think it's a bad option, especially like the fact you don't own Ronaldo, and if you captain Salah, it's going to have the same effect. I think that Antonio has actually got the better attacking fixture.
Yeah.
Than Salah has. I
was just watching that game against Newcastle last week, the first 40, like half an hour, 40 minutes, and I was just thinking, fucking hell, this ridiculous. Like, well, even the whole game, I was thinking Antonio is going to murder your defense.
I think Leeds will really struggle.
I think we could score 4 or 5 against them.
Especially without.
I'm not just saying it.
Outlets.
Like, we could score 4 or 5 on Saturday.
I mean, without the attacking outlets of Rafinha, of Bamford that they can pump the ball up to and he can hold on to the ball. Rafinha that can move forward with the ball. I think they're going to be relying on. Well, Jack Harrison's out, so Dan James. That's it. Dan James and Rodrigo. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Right. So that's my situation. I'm not 100% sure. I think I need to sleep on it and decide what to do tomorrow.
You ready to get jealous?
Yeah, go on then.
Because I don't own Rafinha. I don't own Ailing. However, I
you don't
do own
own
Bamford, but I have the luxury of being able to bench Bamford this week. I had 1.6 million sitting in the bank, and Saar is due a price rise tonight from 6.1 to 6.2 million. So I pulled the trigger, and I did Gilmore to Saar this afternoon, and that's that. Goal. TAA, Shaw, Soufal, Traore, Gray, Salah, Benrahma, Saar in midfield, and Antonio with Captain Ronaldo up front. Veltman, Simicas, Bamford on the bench. So yeah, I've gone with that. I'm gonna back Palace for their win. I know someone in the chat has mentioned there's no mention of Zaha in our free hits teams, but he did come very close to my free hit team this week, as well as Conor Gallagher. But yeah, I'm quite comfortable with my team. It looks like I'm thinking I'm not going to use my wild card next week. I'll be going from Shaw to Rudiger or Reece James. And I'll hold Ronaldo for the Southampton, not Southampton fixture, for the Everton fixture. Lukaku's got Southampton. Let's bring the fixtures up. Lukaku's got the Southampton at home fixture, but I also like Ronaldo at home to Everton. And then the following week, when Ronaldo plays Leicester away, I'll probably come off Ronaldo and go to Lukaku. And then at that point, I'll probably take a -4 as well and look at going Soufal to either Alonso or Reece James at the same time.
So, just before we kind of start the Q&A, just a quick thing on that I was thinking about with regards to the wild card and holding the wild card. I know at the beginning of the season we discussed about when to use the wild card and kind of fixture swings that were coming up and stuff like that. And we mentioned game week 14 or around then for when United have their ridiculously good fixture swing.
I think it was United, Liverpool, and City all have a nice run of fixtures at that point.
So when I was looking at the detail, it feels as though they're really easy to get to, and there won't be like massive changes that you would need to make based on the side that you would have currently had, because unless you're getting rid of Salah, which I would be really surprised if many people would be getting rid of Salah, you don't need to bring him back in there for. The same with TAA, I imagine. And so there's not going to be a huge amount of changes that you're going to need to make. Is there a need for us to waste -4s now, or not now, but in game week 7, 8, or 9, when actually we might as well just pull the trigger and use a wild card?
I think it all depends on how the rest of your team lines up.
Yeah.
So the way I've looked at it so far, like there's only a couple of sort of tricky fixtures that I'd have. Like game week 9 is a bit of a shit one, really. United versus Liverpool. You've got that by that point you need to have your triple Chelsea, really. I think for that Norwich fixture, I think the Brentford one's nice to have it for, but the Norwich one is you must have your triple Chelsea. City, I think lots of people aren't really talking about City that much, but I think you could easily replace one of your Chelsea defenders with Ruben Diaz. Like you could go Diaz instead of Rudiger if you wanted to. I mean, pre-season I preferred that late wild card, and there's not much that's changed my mind yet.
It'll be good next week for us to cover it as one of our topics.
Yeah,
I think maybe we'll cover that next week. We'll look at
we'll weigh up the two different fixture swings and the sort of the main protagonists and
Yeah,
how like what is easy. And I think it's going to be different for everyone depending on where they stand. And I think it's quite easy for anyone that's in your position right now to hit the wild card. And as you said, you were happy with your free hit team to go in with Alonso this week. I think you could hit that wild card now, have one Chelsea defender, and then bring in another Chelsea player next week, and then a third Chelsea player um, in game week 8. I think that's perfectly feasible if, say, you've got Bamford, Ayling, Rafinha, and then you've got players like Dennis, Gilmore,
so basically,
Sissoko.
you're telling me to wildcard. Do you think I should wildcard now?
I I wouldn't say to you till like what we like 2.5 hours before the price changes, and I think that you should have I think you should have Sarr in your team. I probably wouldn't say to wildcard right now. Like I think if like players like Sarr, you'd probably want to hit that button a couple of hours ago and spent this evening going through it. I mean, you'll miss some of those price rises.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a tricky one. Although you're getting a price rise out of Dennis anyway tonight, so it
Yeah.
swings and roundabouts. There you go.
Right. Okay. Let's go through these questions then, Rob. Do you want to start at the top and work your way down?
I will. Morning from Melbourne. That's a long time ago. Mitt Patel, lads, thoughts on Chelsea v Man City early
We
kickoff
answered
of.
that one.
Oh,
We
yeah,
answered that one.
we've answered that. Replacements for Torres if you've got Sarr already. That's from Sheikh Mush.
Interesting. Oh, that's a really tough one. I like Ben Rama still, but then I don't think he's a buy right now. It depends how long you're having him for. If it's for a couple of weeks, I'd go Decore. I really like Decore at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think that's more of a 1 week punt as well with the United away fixture next week.
There isn't really anyone else within that kind of 7 million bracket that I really like the look of.
No, I think Jota you're now looking at as kind of a 1 week. Well, they've got City as well next week,
I wouldn't get Jota.
and
I wouldn't get Jota.
Fabinho probably going to be on the bench this weekend. So, like Klopp has pretty much guaranteed that Firmino plays in the Champions League in the week. So it means he's going to be there or thereabouts.
Long term, Gallagher.
Gallagher, if you wanted to reinvest that money elsewhere, Gallagher's a good option because he's a player that you could, you could play him against Brighton this week. Leicester have been poor at home to Leicester is not a bad fixture.
But firstly,
Newcastle.
do you think that do you think they need a Torres replacement? Like he's missed 1 week.
I think with De Bruyne back, it makes it trickier to predict those front players. Especially where we've seen Bernardo and Mahrez both playing really well. Jack Grealish has obviously been brilliant, and it's only so much room, isn't there, in that lineup? Once you've got De Bruyne fit, like in that attack, like he doesn't get dropped for anyone, does he? So
yeah,
it's there's not much out there. I'd say Decore, Gray, Sarr, Ben Rama.
he's got Sarr. Yeah. Right, go on then. Next question.
What about Mendy? Is Panda in TML?
TML is a FPL group that we're in with some of these boys. So he's asking if you're in
I'm
there.
not. I'm not. I'm too special for that. Gone through that. Rondon, no, bro. Also, Alonso, no, not on a free hit. Yep. Thanks, Bear. Agreeing. Mick Patel, guys, you've overlooked Zaha. Good record v Brighton and 2 home games in a row for Palace. Yeah,
Good
like we
shout.
said, I mean, he is a great option, but in the past he's had all the set pieces as well. And it will be interesting with if Edouard starts. I think that Zaha's returns will be very much limited to assists. Although I think there'll be more assists. I think they've got a much better striker in Odsonne Edouard than they've had before. But yeah, I think if you were going Zaha, you may as well go Gallagher and save your money. Who's the best Rafinha replacement at 6.5 million budget? We both say Sarr. For that.
Sarr.
So I have, it's from Paolo. So I have a triple Leeds injury 2 and TAA. Really want to bank a transfer so I can bring in 2 Chelsea players in game week 7. I have Livramento and Gilmore. Should I hold my transfer? I have Antonio and Ronaldo. TAA isn't a problem. Klopp said that he's back and he's back training. It was only it was an illness. It wasn't an injury. So he's back. Livramento, I don't mind starting this week. Wolves can't hit a cow's backside with a banjo. That was it. That was the old saying. So the only one's Gilmore, really. Yeah, I probably want to make a move if I'm having to start Gilmore. But then again, I did it last week, but that was against Watford. I think if you're happy with it, Paolo, I think yes, stick with it. Don't rip up your team to try and replace Gilmore, unless you're doing Gilmore to Gallagher. Nah. There's not really a forward I want to bring for Bamford. Yep, there's not much down there. No.
I'm recommending just quickly 2 forwards, Rondon, Josh King this week.
Rondon. I prefer Josh King. I can get Josh King. I can handle. I can handle Josh King, but not Rondon. I'm sorry.
Watch
Claire,
when Rondon scores a hat trick this week.
Yeah. Oh God. Claire, should I play Dean, who's flagged, or Livramento?
Play Dean, and if he's flagged and doesn't play, then
he's not the sort of player that comes on for a cameo. So I'd play Dean. Yeah, have Livramento as your first bench. She refused to take the -4 for him. How long's Rafinha likely to be out for? I might roll. Paul, he might be back this week. This weekend, he might not. Bielsa pretty much said just that in his press conference. If you find the next question, I'll find the exact quote that Bielsa said because it got posted in a chat earlier today.
Right, Mick Patel, Son is back now. Does this bring Kane into the equation? I don't think either of them are playing well at the moment, Mick, to justify them playing in. I think their fixtures aren't the best right now. However, in a few weeks they do get better. So let's have a look at their fixtures. They have Arsenal, Villa, Newcastle. Okay, so I would probably say let's see how they do in the so Arsenal, Villa, Newcastle, then West Ham, Man U, Everton. Then they go on a decent run: Leeds, Burnley, Brentford, Norwich. In 7 and 8, week 7 and 8, they've got Villa at home and Newcastle away. Okay, two not bad fixtures, but then they've got West Ham away, Man U at home, and then Everton away. I don't think it's worth bringing them in, and that's during this time that Lukaku's got. Chelsea have got their good run, and you're going to want Lukaku in there as well. So that's why I wouldn't be looking at Kane. However, if they start performing during that time, you can then look at bringing Kane in for the Leeds, Burnley, Brentford, Norwich, Brighton kind of run. What do you think, Rob?
Yes.
You didn't hear it, did you?
I didn't hear most of it. I was looking for this quote. Okay, so Bielsa on Ayling, Rafinha, Harrison. They are subject to their evolution on whether that will allow them to participate. If I said that they would definitely play or they weren't going to play, neither of those things are certain. So, in other words, Bielsa knows as much as we do.
Yeah.
I think
and
it'll
then
be
I
very
think so. It
much
looks
a
like
fitness test on the morning of the game.
Hamish asked, "What happened to Iheanacho?" Fuck knows. I don't know. I don't know.
Vardy, Maddison, and Barnes happened.
Yeah.
I think purely like Rodgers likes those three in that midfield. Maddison and Barnes in that midfield, and if he wants to play Iheanacho, it means maybe unbalancing the team a bit. We did talk about it last season about him not liking playing that two up top, but then he did for a little bit and it kind of worked. But that was whilst Barnes wasn't fit, and so he switched his team around a little bit. I think it's purely because everyone else is fit and he's back to being second choice on the bench. So until someone gets injured, until Barnes, Maddison, or Vardy get injured, I don't think we'll see much of Iheanacho. Paolo, Rafinha to Sarr, but then I'm out of double Chelsea next week without a hit. I'm not too I'm personally not too fussed about having like going full on Chelsea coverage against Southampton next week. It's the Brentford and the Norwich games that I want to be looking at having more Chelsea coverage for. That Southampton home game, I think it's more of Southampton's performance at the weekend against City. They're showing some fight, and yeah, I don't think it's one of those that I need to have triple Chelsea in. I think it's the game weeks 8 and 9 that I really want to target. I mean, I'm guessing I think if you're on a wild card in game week 7, then go full on with the Chelsea triple. But yeah, I'm not too fussed of it. That's why I've done my Gilmore to Sarr move this week. Otherwise, I could have brought in a Chelsea asset this week.
I think we're all questioned out, aren't we?
Mitt says Ari Kane. So what you were talking about a couple of minutes ago. Thanks, it makes sense. That's what I was going to say.
Right, Rob, do you want to? Thanks for listening, guys. Right, Rob, do you want to go through any other business and little spiel off before we end the stream?
Yep, any other business. So the mini league is now closed. If you haven't entered, well, where have you been for the last 6 weeks? So entries are closed. Let's have a quick look at the table. So just quick from 10th up, we've got Martin Croft in 10th, Nathan Harriet in 9th, Tom Glover in 8th, Ryan Campbell 7th, Scott full stop in joint 4th of Richard James Neal and Richard Kirk, Lewis Chambers in 3rd, District in 2nd still, and top of the pile is Dara Cunningham with Mallinmore United on a massive 413 points. Where are you in this league now, Sham?
I'm 397 points. So do you know what? In all my mini leagues, it's quite funny.
Probably
all the mini leagues I'm in.
down.
All my mini leagues, I'm like in the top maybe 5 or 6 in most of them, and in this league I'm 17th. This is the league that I'm the lowest position in.
Yeah,
It's
see,
quite funny.
so it's the most challenging mini league out there, apparently. Well, the most challenging with however many people
That I'm in.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. When are we recording next week?
Back to normal. Monday night. I think Monday night. I think. I don't know what I don't plan to go to any other weddings on Monday, so.
Yep. Monday sounds good. Oh no, shit. Oh no, I can this week. Yeah, I'm on holiday on Tuesday, remember?
All right, so well, you can still record on Monday night.
We're recording Monday night. Yeah, we're recording Monday night, and then James will be filling in for me on Thursday for the live stream, and then
James will be
he'll do the
filling you in.
pre-record. Filling me in, yeah. Yes. Right, we've had quite a few saying thanks. Brilliant show, boys. Great show, lads. I'll likely win this mini league as well as TML, Hamish says. And Claire says thanks. You are very, very welcome. Right. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. You can find us on Twitter, FPL_happy hour. We're also on a number of podcasts, including Spotify and iTunes, and our YouTube channel is FPL Happy Hour. Please like, subscribe, and share, and all your retweets are appreciated. Good luck this game week, and we'll speak to you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.